All
All
right.
right.
Oh
Oh
boy,
boy,
why do I hear myself? Hold on.
hold on.
Okay, there you go. I was testing my audio before. All right. Soundboard volume. Why does Discord have a soundboard? Anyways, we're not focused on Discord right now. We are focused on doing game development. Hello, everybody. And by everybody, probably mean not many people. We got one viewer right now on Twitch. Whatever, like the bot or something. If you're on Discord, I just unmuted myself. I'll share my screen as well. You can watch on Discord as well. I want to share my screen though. I don't want to do. Actually, hold on. Okay, guys, I'm right now. Oh, I do have this mini screen right here. Hold on. I got it. Don't worry. Full screen projector on. Uh, display 12. Oh yeah, that works. Okay, and then we can just put OBS over here. We can go over our screen 12. Okay, this actually works nice. Smooth. Let's do better text readability. Just kidding. That requires Nitro. Okay, and then some may not be available. That doesn't matter too much. For Discord. If you want sound, you can go on twitch.tv, quantonium.net/live as well. That works too. Sorry, I'm just checking Discord settings real quick. Okay. So, making games. That's right. Yeah, that's what we're here for, aren't we? I'm gonna start up some Cincinnati 4 music. I'm gonna turn down a bit because it's kind of loud. All right, that should be good. Let me check the sound settings. Hold on, I'm gonna reorganize a little bit. There we go. Okay. There. All right. All right, we good? Yeah, I think we're good. I'm gonna turn myself up a little bit more so I don't have to speak loudly. Alright, and today we'll be starting making a game. We'll be not yet working on engine or assets or any code or anything like that. We're starting with the prototyping and development and idea brainstorming. Alright, so live game. Yeah, okay, we'll call that. Alright, so I'm gonna turn down the music a little bit more. I feel like I'm talking over myself. There we go. All right. Here we go. Let me. Here's my OBS stats. Where are they? Come on. Here we go. Okay. All right, we're doing good. We're doing good on the live stream. All right. So, a little background for you. Actually, yeah, you know what? Let me show off. Since the end of the semester, so I've been going to college and all. I've been working on a game, and I'm going to show you sort of what exactly has been worked on. Sure my teammates wouldn't mind because I don't know. Yeah, we showed it off publicly, in fact. Anyways, so yeah, I'll show you guys. Your display capture, and then hide the Elgato. There we go. Okay. Don't have display capture. Ah, there we go. Okay. All right, we're good. All right. So I was working on a little game called Cat Smash. It's pretty much complete now. Still working out, seeing what to do with the game after, since the semester's over and all. But yeah. Just wanna. I should probably, nah. Let's not open it up there. Go show in folder because what we did end up doing, we sort of had to do this, and we is packaging it pretty much. So Just to give you an idea, there we go. All right, what's that window open? Oh, that's Unreal. Okay, close Unreal. There we go. All right, let me. There's a cat there. Oh, look at that. Did it capture the display? I'm just checking. Hold on. Something's changed. No, don't save. Capture any full screen application. So game capture should work. There you go. Yep, game capture works. All right, so here we have a game, Cat Smash. The UI isn't that impressive, and my GPU is struggling. So I'm gonna go turn on the graphics settings here. These are real basic graphic settings, and it's still struggling, so I'm gonna turn it on a bit more. All right, so we're just gonna go with really low graphics settings, and it automatically saves and all. Game's unfortunately not super optimized. I'm opening up performance here real quick. Okay, yeah. That's interesting. It's something's going on with my CPU. It's weird. I'm not accidentally doing H.264 encoding, right? Oh, you know what? I forgot. I need to turn off the AMD replay system. Yeah, can't do that with live streaming at the same time. Now I have a pretty combination, so unfortunately I can't make any GIFs until OBS can record GIFs. I don't know. There you go, turn those off. Okay, so that should be a little bit better now. As for the CPU, I'm not sure. It's got a new CPU like yesterday. Alright, anyways. So we already shut off the the settings here. This is just a basic settings, just gets the job done. Working in this semester for like a class project in a relatively introductory class. You had to do it. You had to do. Why is the hold on. Probably getting tons of drop frames and stuff right now. GPU's just off the rails right now. What's OBS stats looking like? A few oh, actually not too bad. Alright, so the sorry. We can go into optimization in a later stage. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to resume start game. I'm not going to show off multiplayer now because that's going to be too much effort. So if I had previous save games, they'd show up here, but I don't, so I have create a new game, click start game, loads pretty quickly. Alright, little help screen here, and then because it's intended to be multiplayer, you can set your name. Also, this isn't set up with Steam or anything, so there we go. And then we have 2 cats to choose from. And then once there's also a little chat here, but again, it's not really. Well, oh boy, never really tested out that. It's interesting. Submitted that. All right. Anyway, so this is Cat Smash. You run around as a cat. Can jump if you hold down spacebar. There you go. And then oh boy. The animations are good, but not perfect. There's a picture of my cat actually. There you go, and then you can smash stuff around. So there we go. Alright, just destroyed the picture frame. Just also, oh yeah, the light's turned off because it's daytime. And there's the laptop right there. Glitches out a little bit when you walk on the screen. There's a chair actually used from a VR project from a few years ago. A little rolling chair. It's kind of fun, but it's oh boy. Yeah, pro tip about making games about Jeez, what the heck? Okay, I've never seen that before. Oh no. Okay, it stopped. All right. Yeah. So making games with physics and all pretty challenging things to do, especially with cables and stuff. Here's like a cable you can put it on the lamp. You can also plug the cables in if you walk up to them. There you go, and they can eat the plant by pressing E. As you can see, there's little indicators as to the sort of plants that you can add. It would have been nice to like add more indicators, but we were sort of time constrained on this. Alright, so yeah, and then you just break stuff up. There's a little bit of UI, but it's very minimalistic. There's a plant in the laundry room. I don't know what that is in the corner there, but there you go, some shelves as well. You can close and open them. You're supposed to be able to close and open. I'm not sure why it's stuck. Huh, that's weird. Okay. Must have went into some sort of sleeping state or something. Alright, and then as you continue playing, oh boy, since we're on low graphics settings, I guess the sun is glitching out on us. Oh boy, what's going on? Outside, okay. I think it, okay, no, oh boy, okay. Huh, interesting. Alright, so yeah, that's the game. And then there's 2 other levels. I'm not sure if you can save the game live or something. Alright, save game. Yeah, save game live. Okay, we're not gonna do any more of that because OBS is really having a hard time. Alright. So there you go, just sort of what I've been working on for class, in terms of games at least. But now it's time to start something new. I'm gonna go turn back on Elgato. And there we go. Alright, so my screen's orange because I've got a program with a light filter. Anyways, so the very first step of making a game, at least the way that I would go about making a game. Of course, there's different ways of making a game. There's, you know, I got one note open here, so actually, you know, no, wait, yeah. I'll just open it up here. Go Chrome. Switch over to a different user here. Okay, so if I go to itch.io, tons and tons and tons of games. Lots of games on here. Some of them are paid, some of them are on the web, some of them are free. But what I want to point out right now, right here, the game jams. So one of the big things about itch.io is you can host game jams, you can host your own jams. Here's just a whole bunch of jams they can go for. There's some like big ones show up here. It's a free course for all submissions. You can do that at one, I guess, if you want. But we're not going to do a game jam. I've posted about this over on my good old blog post. Let's see why I'm not a fan of game jams. And one of the reasons is that you are very time constrained and you're very pressured much more than, like, you know, for Cat Smash that I showed off. Much more time constrained and pressured to make a game within a set amount of time. And then there's also rules and limitations, and there's a theme that you have to follow. But what I understand is, you know, some people, they might not they might want inspiration, or they might want to have an idea to go and work on a game, something to start with, or maybe you just want to join something without going through the creative prototyping and initial brainstorming phase. But what we're going to be doing here is not a game jam type game. It's going to be a much long-term game. Something I hopefully will keep up this summer. Luckily, I do have one idea for this in particular, but I have other ideas as well. Other different game ideas that I'd like to make in the future. But I've been very busy, and also some of those require IPs. Permission, which is a whole nother world on its own. So we're going to be making a game, much simpler game, something that can be easy to follow along with, something that if you are watching, you can go and ask questions, either go back and look at the VOD replay or live. You can join my Discord server. Link is right there. right there. Yeah, whatever. All right, so let's I guess begin. So, the game idea that I've had, I'll show it off to you right here. So I'll go over to my amazing website right here. What I want to focus on is the laser tag. There we go. So this is a game that's been worked on for a while. Next week I'll shout out a way where that you can join the development process, because I'll also be working on this over the summer. I won't be live streaming this necessarily. Maybe here or there's like a few updates or something, but what I want to work on for the course of the live streams over the summer is pretty much that laser tag game, but on mobile in a way. It's going to be a different game, but it's going to play out with some similarities. I'm not sure why Bitwarden's not closing. Okay, there we go. Alright, so with laser tag, so here's the, we'll abbreviate this LT. I still need to come up with like a name. Laser tag more or less has like a bar right here, and then you have like a cannon. Hold on. There we go. Okay. There we go. So that's like a first-person view model. There's like a thumb or something. Kind of bad at drawing. There you go. Okay, something like that. And then you got another person over here. You got some walls. And then this one has a mirror. And then you shoot the laser, so make the lasers red, and then the laser bounces off, and then there's sensors on the target, so you have to hit the sensor, and then when you hit the sensor, it like goes all buzzes off or something, and then they are disabled. They're not dead, they are disabled for a few seconds, and then they have to go and hide or something, or like regroup pretty much, and then in this instance you get like plus 50 points or something like that, and then there's like a team score 100 to 0, something like that. So that's the laser tag game that I've been working on. One of the features of this laser tag game is the level layout, so I'll just draw. Let's see here. Let's see if I remember how to draw the Pac-Man layout or something. I don't know. So you got this maze here. There's different paths that you can go, different areas with like mirrors and stuff. So like a mirror there, a mirror there. The one level that I made is symmetrical, so if you divide it in half, this isn't the level at all, but if you divide it in half, then it's even for like team play. So some of the other things about this laser tag game is that, well, it's multiplayer, so it's select mode. Player 1 or something like that. There's maybe like a text chat over here. That's a bar here. That laser bar is just to indicate the charge of your laser, so you can't like spam it all the time or something. Anyways, so what else does laser tag have? Like play and customize. There's your little person right there. This is like the main menu. Yeah, excuse me. So, what's automatic shapes? That doesn't work. Okay, so, right. Big emphasis on laser tag. Something that would be like a publisher selling point, for instance, is the customization options. So, a lot of different areas of customization. Say you want a green laser instead of a red laser. Oh yeah, sure. It can be customizable. Maybe you unlock that through, I don't know, loot boxes or something like that. Sorry, not loot boxes. rewarding incentives. I don't know. We can worry about customization later, but that is a key part. What else? There's also options, of course. There's also a tutorial. So this is sort of the tutorial level. Here's your character. Here's maybe like a wall and another wall. There's something to jump over in the distance. Something to crouch down under. And then maybe like a little person over here. And then that person, what I did was I gave little indications. So here's like the sensors, for instance. And then there's like little visual indications that say like plus 50 or something. These are like plus 2 or whatever. Then there's more points with the lasers. And pretty much that's about it for the tutorial. Hold on, I'm going to get some water real quick. Alright. So, yeah, this is the multiplayer laser tag game that I've been working on and that I'm opening development up to. Why I'm going over this is what I want to do is emphasize key parts of what makes a game, pretty much. So we'll go over here, make a little list. So let's see here. There we go. Alright. So, what makes a game game? Yeah. There you go. Alright, so looking at this picture here, well, we got a multiplayer. Creating a challenge. Some sort of obstacle, pretty much. And it's an obstacle. So how do you overcome the obstacle? You shoot, pretty much. Now I ask, why shoot? I mean, why not just like ignore obstacle? Now this is where an incentive comes into play. And put some exclamation points in that. An incentive is the reason that you play the game. Reason why. And in this case, it is to win. Gain more points than opponents. Alright. I misspelled points there. But why win? Cosmetics. More incentive. This is pretty much the basis of every multiplayer game. Every PvP multiplayer game. Every first-person multiplayer game. You look at here, let's take an example, Rocket League, for instance. I mean, it's not a first-person shooter, but you hit the ball, I guess. You move around your car. There's more than just shooting. The incentive is to score goals, and then to gain points. If you gain more points than the obstacle, which is your opponents, then you win the game. And upon winning the game, you gain XP, which levels up your character and can grant you cosmetics. Something else that can do is grant levels. Now, these are more or less just sort of like bragging rights, having like a player level. So it just indicates how much time or effort you put into a game, how much XP you've gained. In the long run, it isn't necessarily an indication of how good or bad you are, except for competitive SR ranking and stuff like that, but that's a different idea. The whole purpose of a rank is to give the player an indication of how they are progressing, pretty much. Now, you don't want this rank to be sort of stagnant, because otherwise they'll just get bored. They're like always stuck in level 9 or whatever. They can't advance, so why bother continuing on? Why is my computer fans are like going all crazy? But of course, you don't want it to be a short advance, because then it's like too short, pretty much. Actually, you just quickly rank up to level 100, quickly rank up to level 1000. It's like how in Candy Crush there's like millions of levels or something like that. Each level only takes maybe 15 minutes to play. Yeah, Candy Crush has been going on for how many years? And how many levels have they built up versus yeah, say like Red Dead Redemption 2, for instance. That can be finished in like 6 or so hours, probably 10 or more. Oh, excuse me. That only has like 8 or so chapters in it. So 8 chapters versus thousands of levels. Just the thing about Red Dead Redemption 2 is you're doing a lot more than just matching candies. Anyways, so there we go. We got the idea of the incentive. So now, how is the next step? So how are you going to win? What just popped up on my phone? Hold on. I don't know what just popped up on my phone. Oh well. So how are you going to win? So this is now the controls and the world, or controls and character. How about, there we go. Let's spell character. There we go. Okay. So for laser tag we have WASD and mouse. And that's pretty much it, actually. I guess control and spacebar as well for jump and crouch. So what do these do? What do? WASD is the standard movement key. So, you know, like W forward, S back, A strafe left. So this is like walking sideways left. And then D strafe right. Lots of maneuverability. That's a key part, because now we're going to, this is actually all just on the level of game design, pretty much. Speaking of game design, yeah, I have to take that class. Anyways, yes, so game design, that's what this all is. Pretty much. Game design. Maneuverability. So in laser tag, I want good, not lots, okay, good maneuverability. Yeah, spelling top suit. Okay. Alright. Lots of maneuverability. Not an insane amount. So you can take a look at, let's take a look at first-person shooters, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or yeah, pretty much that's it. That game, you walk, or you walk slowly, or you crouch, or you jump. You can look around pretty freely, but other than that, there's no sprint, there's no wall ride or flying or anything like that. Fairly restrictive, not too restrictive, but Counter-Strike Global Offensive has considerably more restrictive movement, and you have to play around with that. Take a look at Rainbow Six Siege, for instance. That game doesn't have jumping, but instead it has leaning left and right, and it has more map design, which we'll go over shortly, to add a little different mechanics in the game. Then you take a look at the other side of the spectrum. Let's say Titanfall 2, for instance. Now you have wall running, you have double jumping, you have phase dashing, and you have all sorts of different abilities. Then you have the whole Titan affair. Not affair. Anyway, Titanfall 2, in comparison, has a lot more maneuverability. More maneuverability than something like the laser tag game. Another good example of a game which no longer exists, Lawbreakers, if you've ever seen or heard of that. That game has a big emphasis on maneuverability and movement as well. I suggest you probably check that out because it's kind of interesting. So, anyways, with laser tag, the maneuverability is I want the players to be able to move around pretty freely, but not with such a high learning curve. So you can, I believe you can sprint, shift, sprint, control, crouch, space, jump. So that's pretty much the basic controls. Pretty reasonable maneuverability. So in case you're wondering about real life laser tag, you oftentimes cannot sprint around or jump or crouch. But since we're in a video game and not worried about hurting each other in real life, you can just do whatever you want to a realistic extent. Because the purpose of this game, let me put that at the top right here because it's fairly important. Laser tag purpose. Recreate real world laser tag. There we go. So that's pretty much the whole idea of the laser tagging that you're working on. So with this idea of recreating real world laser tag, I want it to be easy to learn, fun to play, with room for mastery. So something like that. Something that anybody can like just pick up on their own. They can just play it on their own. So casually, they don't have to really multiplayer if they don't want to, though I don't really have AI working yet. We'll get to that in a bit too. And then room for mastery. As I've talked about with this sort of idea, there's mirrors and stuff. There's probably going to be some other sort of features and whatnot that can be exposed to the player's advantage or the player's disadvantage. Alright, so anyways, back to the controls. Speaking of advantage, disadvantage, now you have sprinting. So why would the player want to sprint in the first place? To escape, to catch up, catch up. To pretty much gain an advantage. Or as a tool, pretty much. That's what sprinting pretty much is. And same thing for crouching. Gain an advantage or as a tool. So what do I mean by this? Well, for laser tag, one reason that might be obvious that you might want to run away is that you're being chased. You just got tagged. In laser tag, when you get tagged, there's a slight speed boost for a few seconds while you're disabled. So being able to sprint around on the map, find a new place to recover, some place that doesn't have many people around it, for instance, that would be a reason why you would want to sprint. Another reason would be that you hear a player and you want to catch up to them. You want to sort of maybe ambush them by surprise and they don't know where you are. That would be another good reason to sprint. So why? But then what about, I mean, why not just always have sprinting on? Why not sprint? Well, one idea. I haven't really done much with this yet, but one idea would be noisy or alerting. There we go. So maybe with sprinting, your position's more exposed, pretty much. Another reason would be inaccuracy. Going back to this idea of shooting targets requires precision, accuracy. Alright. So then crouching. Crouching is sort of the opposite of sprinting. Opposite of sprinting. Maybe you go in quieter, but slower. You can go in tight spots as well. Some map have like a little secret tunnel that you can go through to get from point A to point B or something. And then finally jump. Why would you jump? Why wouldn't you jump? So inaccurate. Noisy, similar to sprinting. But the reason why you would jump is to get over walls, for instance. Something on the map. Stuff on map. Maybe dodging other players, for instance, as well. That would be another reason why you want to jump around. So with all three of these, the idea is to be able to utilize the map. Utilize the map to advantage. So with movement, it's very dependent on the map, the level layout, for instance. You don't have to jump or sprint or crouch 24/7 everywhere, every single time you play the game, but these tools are available to you. So what else is available to you now that we are talking about the map? Map layout. So some of the features that I wanted to create in this sort of game that can be exposed with a map. Mirrors we talked about. Reflect, lasers, tag out of sight, pretty much. So mirrors sort of change the game. Change game from basic tag or shooting to map emphasize to map emphasis. What else? The level that I have has a second floor. So this has some advantages. Height advantage or hiding advantage on first floor. There are also vents to shoot down in. This plays again on the height advantage pretty much. So there's some choices right there for you. And yeah, that's more or less what I have right now in laser tag for how do you gain points to win. These are what you have available. You can shoot as well. Don't forget about shooting as well. Shoot laser. There we go. Alright. So regarding the laser shooting, every second or so. So this is a balanced decision. So you don't want the laser to always continuously be shooting around. So I implemented the mechanic where the laser will time out after being fired for like a couple of seconds. Alright. So yeah, that's the more or less the gameplay, actually. That's the major points that I want to focus on with the laser tag game. So, with this in mind, let's talk about turning it into a mobile game. But we will look at this from the perspective of it being a new game. So, I'm going to go backtracking actually before we even come up with the idea of a laser tag game in the first place. I'm going to open up Steam here. There we go. Hold on, it's got a few seconds to open up. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to open up Steam so that we can see what other people are doing. What other people have been doing, what other AAA studios, or I guess you can open up itch.io like before. Alright, so here we go. We have Paradox Publisher Sale, a few strategy games, simulation games as well. Okay, well, those are pretty challenging to make. A lot of AI, a lot of different mechanics they have to add in. Also, pretty good emphasis on UI as well. Not the most basic choice, but here we go. We have Dota 2. Okay. So, hello. I'm going over what other people I'm doing to start brainstorming the game idea that I actually sort of started brainstorming. Anyways, Dota, pretty simple mechanics. All right, you know, if I were interested in MOBAs, maybe I could make something like Dota. You have to know a little bit of AI, but not too much. There'd be a lot of emphasis on balancing and a lot of emphasis on like hero abilities and stuff like that. Let's see here. PUBG Battlegrounds. Oh yes, the battle royales. So yeah, big battle royale craze was a few years ago. The one challenging thing I think with battle royales is getting a 60-player match and getting it to last, pretty much. So anyway, that's... You can look at other games, all sorts of other games you want. If you're looking for inspiration, you can take those games. You can take, let's say... Yeah, let's take a pretty obvious example. Apex Legends here. There we go. So, in case you didn't know, Apex Legends is the successor to Titanfall 2. And a feature that people sometimes want in Apex Legends is for Titans to be in it, even though that'll make the game completely unbalanced, but that's another story. So maybe you want to make a battle royale game about Titans. Okay, that's an interesting idea. So what I want to do then is, let's start with idea. So we're going to do laser tag, as I mentioned before, but smaller, mobile. That's the idea of the game that we're going to be making. So the next step, I would say, so you have sort of the idea. You have maybe like Apex Legends, both Titans. You have PUBG, but it's a mobile or something like that. What's the environment that the game is in? If that's an important feature. Now, not everything's going to be important. The story, for instance, I could do whatever for the story. Other times, for like the Cat Smash game that I showed off at the start of the stream, a story would be more important to sort of give context as to why there's a cat running around an apartment. So, let's do where. So where would this laser tag game take place? So with the PC version, the full version of laser tag, I had it in a simulation. Traditionally, with the laser tags I've played with as like a younger kid, they've been on an alien world. One idea that I actually have been thinking of doing with the laser tag, and we can also try out with this game, is any world pretty much. So any theme that you want, we will create sort of like theme packs pretty much. So in a nutshell, laser tag mobile, not world specific pretty much. So how do you build such a world? Well, you want to start off somewhere pretty much. Maybe you have inspiration from something. Maybe you're looking for ideas. You can always ask people around. You can ask your friends or go ask some public online forum or something, like my Discord server. Just say I want to make a first-person shooter. I want to make a space simulator or something like that. What might be a good theme or a good sort of background or idea? I'm gonna drink water real quick. Alright, so we know for this game that we're going to be making, laser tag but smaller on mobile. So mobile has internet, and that's important because I want to make it multiplayer. Now, multiplayer but also single player. So this is just an idea. We'll see what we can play with. So ideas can change over time. Alright. Keep pressing caps lock. Alright, so with the multiplayer then and single player. So multiplayer, competitive, challenge, PvP, that sort of stuff. Single player, challenge, self, practice. So that's the idea of having both multiplayer and single player. So now, what would these look like? What look like? So with the multiplayer, this is where start drawing again. So you have your phone here, so phone screen right there. The idea that I had was you had playing as like a sphere or a blob or something like that. And then your sphere is in like a top-down maze sort of thing. This would be in 3D, but I'm not going to try drawing a 3D maze. So here we go. Then there would be, where's draw? There we go. Okay. You'll be able to see around you, but you only have sight line of what you can see around you. Then there's other players, and you can shoot lasers pretty much. You can shoot lasers too. And then there's mirrors as well, so very similar to the PC version, but ported over for mobile pretty much. There we go. So some lasers as well. So this would be sort of multiplayer. Then for single player, you're in a level. There's maybe some like obstacles, some targets that you have to hit, and you're timed. You have to go through the level and shoot. Oops, that's not right. You have to go through the level and shoot all targets. So boom. There you go. You have to keep moving. Maybe there's stuff that shoots back at you too. Stuff that you have to like dodge pretty much. Ooh, yeah, like a secret agent. I'm gonna put that as an idea. There we go. That makes sense because we're working a lot with lasers. Surprised they didn't really come up with that sort of idea before. So that would be the single player. Alright. There we go, making good progress. There we go, so we got multiplayer challenge with PvP, we got single player challenge with self and practice. So, there we go. Now, what else is about this game? So, being on mobile, there is an importance on the controls for mobile. So, we're going to go over that now. Controls. So, on these two screens, we don't show any controls. Typical mobile controls. So let's draw a little phone here. There we go. There's my phone. So one method of control is rotation or the accelerometer. There we go. It's a really bad picture, but I think it gets the point across. So this is pretty much just tilting your phone around to control. This works well for, say, like a marble game, for instance, or like a racing game, like something like a Wii steering wheel almost. There is, of course, your phone camera. There you go. Could be an interesting AR game, and there's been a lot of recent development with AR, but we're not probably gonna begin into doing that. This could be interesting, but the thing with tilting is that it requires movement. I'm not gonna bother writing because that's not gonna be readable. Requires movement, and that could be difficult for some. So having an accelerometer in your game, having it be required that you tilt your phone, that's going to be slightly less accessible for mobile users. Not going to be the most inaccessible thing by any means, but if we want to port this game over to something that doesn't have a mobile device, like for instance when I'm developing it on the computer in the following weeks, then we don't want to have to, I don't know, tilt my monitor, like, oh, testing out my game. No, we don't want to do that. So we aren't going to be sticking with that. So what we have now is the touch screen itself. So with this idea of the game, you're playing as a character. This character can move around in multiple directions. There's different ways of doing this. Some older games you would use, say, like a D-pad. There we go. But a D-pad has only limited 4 to 8 directions. So like with the PC game, I want the mobile controls to be easy to use and simple. Simple controls. Simple and easy, because with a mobile device you have, say like this big of a screen, or maybe make it a little bit bigger because my laptop screen here is kind of big. That's all the screen real estate you have. So having a whole bunch of controls all over the place, that can be difficult. That can be difficult and challenging for players to use. So that sort of goes under the idea of UI design and the idea of why, like, you have websites that are designed to be horizontal and have like big text. There you go, and then big buttons, high, and then reasonable size text. So that's UI design, pretty much. And UI design, of course, is applicable for games as well, like this game that we're going to be making. So how would we control the character? So going back to the D-pad idea, there's another idea from good old game controllers, and that is the analog joysticks. This is a really bad game controller. Alright, whatever. So you could turn a phone into a game controller by putting the controls on the screen, pretty much. Steam has an update. Let's update Steam. Whatever. Alright. So this is what a lot of games do. Say have an analog control right here. So this is the control where you move around, you can drag it around the screen in all directions with your thumb. So you hold the phone in like a comfortable grip, like you're gonna be watching a video or something. Like this, here, there's my phone. And then your thumbs, this is just matrix, but your thumbs will be accessible on the left and on the right. And sometimes, although a little more difficult in terms of accessibility, you can also use your index fingers and maybe your other fingers as well. But phones weren't initially designed for that, so don't expect players to be willing to reach across their phone to move controls. And on that same subject, we want to keep everything near the thumbs, pretty much. Unless there's something like a pause menu, for instance. Pause button, for instance. There you go. Something that we don't want the player to always be pressing. That can be off to the side. So, okay. Back to the controls. So this, everything being near the thumb, also means that we want to limit the controls. Limit controls. Limit the total control. So ideally 2. Alright. So for this game, for this laser tag game, I want the player to be able to turn around. Maybe. That might be something that I change. Move plus turn. So the best way to do that is to have another analog control. And then when this moves in a direction, it will shoot a laser in that direction. When moving, stick, shoot in direction. So something else about the analog sticks is further dragging equals faster. So the further you drag on this side, say move and then aim. So the more you drag on the move side, on the left stick, right there, the faster you go around. As for the aim, that is something that I could probably play with and test out, prototype pretty much. Drag on aim equals what? So you can think of a phone touchscreen as a large analog input, pretty much. There is so much potential that you can do within just a little bit of screen, but you have to be careful again not to do too much. So going back to the PC game, this has some more ideas. So with the keyboard, there's more that you can do typically because you typical keyboard users have 5 fingers. And so it's more expected that you can press space and shift and like control or something while you have WAS and D in control. Same thing with the controller, you have your index fingers and sometimes, depending on your grip, your middle fingers as well to press the bumper buttons as your thumbs are on the top. Well, the mobile device, we are a bit more limited to just the thumbs. So how do we work out more additional controls? So I'm thinking with typical movement games in this sort of fashion, you're oftentimes going to be moving around all the time, and you want to perform simultaneous actions while still moving. I mean, why stop in place to go and like pick up an item, for instance? Maybe that is a mechanic in your game. Maybe it like takes time to pick up a mechanic, but for laser tag, we don't have any pickup mechanics or laser tag mobile. But we do have still the mechanic where player can't just continuously shoot. So have a few buttons along the aiming side of the aiming stick, pretty much. So these buttons could be like jump, sprint, or something like that. So I'm not sure entirely what these buttons will be. So we'll just put them down. Buttons near aim stick. So probably have a sprint button. Not sure what else. We'll see. We'll see what works. All right. So I think that would work out pretty well for just a simple control scheme. So now that we have the controls, let's work backwards from how we worked out the design of laser tag. So we answer the how with the controls. So now, why would you control it? This goes back to why incentive. All right, so the incentive aspect being so there's two different incentives since we're doing multiplayer and single player. So with the multiplayer incentive, it's to win the game against other players. Pretty much. Let me move this real quick. Hold on. Yeah, gonna work. There we go. Okay, move that over there. Okay. All right. So win the game against the other players. Tag to get points. Most points wins. There you go. It's pretty simple to make the incentive. Now, that's for multiplayer though. We have the single player now as well. So with single player, self-challenge, beat the level. Also do single player / co-op as well, just to have the idea as a possibility. So how do you beat the level? Well, in this example here, beat the time, tag all the targets, maybe don't get caught or tag. Alright, so with the single player or the co-op, there could be different types of single player, which I'll sort of list out next. But the idea would be to pretty much just beat the current level that you're playing. So this could be either beat the time, so get from start to end within time limit. It could be get a certain number of points within the time limit. Or it could be complete the level without getting tagged at all, if there's like enemies patrolling the level or something like that. So then, with those multiplayer and single player, gain points, XP, and achievements. So being on mobile, you're gonna have achievements available. You can also have achievements available pretty much anywhere in games, but achievements are another key sort of incentive. going back to the idea of incentives. So yeah, we talked about that before. You can look back if you want to sort of go over the analysis of why, of the sort of incentives and whatnot. But we'll just sort of continue on with this, as well as probably some sort of cosmetic incentive as well. Because players like, customization, self, look cool and all. Have a unique experience. That's the reason why there's cosmetic unlocks in games. Now, what about advantage? Advantage incentive? No. Because this is multiplayer competitive. So I want it to be a level playing field for all. That's a design choice that you have to make for yourself. Do you want to give players an advantage over others because they played more? Ideally, no, you don't want to, so that you can encourage new players to keep joining into your game. But maybe for a co-op game, the more experienced players can help out the new players to defeat community goals, or for instance, like in Elite Dangerous, for example. Elite Dangerous is like a game that has a time advantage. The more you play in Elite Dangerous, the better you get. And going into Elite Dangerous, you can be very weak. You can be weak against other players, but oftentimes there's community goals and there's good help from the community to help out those new players to get to the point where they too can become the more experienced players. In contrast, for laser tag, the only thing you have is your laser and whatever color your laser pretty much is. Well, I mean, it's a bit more than that, but that's pretty much it. For most competitive games, you want to start the players on the same playing field, because if you don't start them on the same playing field, there's going to be a significant disadvantage. The players who are at that disadvantage will keep being at that disadvantage, and they're not going to be wanting to play the game much more. This is also a good reason why I don't really like battle royales, and why I like RNG, for instance, or random number generation. Essentially, randomness in a game, in a competitive game, can be difficult. Because every single time you start the game up new, you're not at a fair advantage to other players. Now, sure, in the battle royale, you can say that you all start off in the same airship, for instance, or whatever. Wherever you start off in one spot, and you have to go around the map. But then, now it's dependent on which map's being played, which is a key point to a competitive game. But with battle royale specifically, it's not only the map, but also which items you end up just randomly finding on the map. And yeah. And so this randomness creates more or less an idea of luck, I'd say. So while no, you're not getting an advantage over the other player who's played more other than pure skill, you're just more lucky, pretty much. Now, do you want luck to be a factor in games? Oftentimes for competitive games, I'd say that's a pretty bad factor, because yeah, excuse me, because luck makes it unfair. Alright, so I think that works out pretty good for the incentives. having players level up, having them gain XP for the Google Play Store, for instance, gaining achievements and stuff, gaining cosmetics. Will incentivize them to go join more multiplayer matches and whatnot. Alright. So now we answer the why. So now let's answer, I guess, what. So what will be in the game? Well, some sort of level, map, something like that, as before. So being on mobile, it will be top-down 3D, maybe orthographic. Don't worry too much about that. Orthographic might look a bit weird, and works best at like an angle to create maybe like a flat or an older style game. But you can have top-down with perspective view as well. So something else, everything on one level, flat movement. Why would I do this? Because jumping can be difficult in top-down. Take really low-hanging fruit example. Sonic 3D Blast. There we go. So this was the first 3D Sonic game. It's the Wikipedia page here. It ran on the Sega Genesis, and it looked like this. So this is what orthographic image looks like. Sonic has the ability to jump around. And let's see if I can find the video here real quick. Alright. There we go. Okay. So yeah, jumping is a pretty big mechanic, and as you can see, even through this simple playthrough, I'm not sure what's going on with Sonic there, but looks very difficult to move around. Looks very high movement, high paced. Like, what do you look at right now other than the big orange blob again? I'm not sure what's going on with Sonic there. What can you interact with, for instance? So you can see, if you go down like the steps there, there's a little shadow. There's some shadows there as well. The idea of the shadow is to give indication as to where the player is, but with the way that all the different control mechanics and the map layout is, that can just... Hi. Nope. Dogehype.com, really? Alright, ignore that. So... Hold on, I'm gonna wait for text-to-speech to turn off. Dogehype.com. Don't go to dogehype.com, guys. Don't do that. That was just the URL that the person linked or something like that. Alright, anyways. So yeah, my point being, Sonic 3D Blast has jumping mechanics, but it probably didn't really need it. It could have been designed around where you didn't need to be jumping, and that's because with a top-down view such as in the Sonic game, jumping can be difficult, even in like something better like Mario 3D World, for instance. Sure, okay, 3D World's pretty good, and jumping is not too horrible, but still can be pretty confusing, especially if it's like your first time playing. And especially on a mobile device, you have a small screen, so less view to jump. So there's all sorts of different reasons why I want jumping. So in conclusion, I'm not gonna include jumping in the game. So being top-down 3D, you can see over maze. Could you see other players? So this would go on, maybe rather than having the idea of this will be vision fog or whatever. I don't know exactly what the name is called. But this would be another tool / advantage to have. Being able to see over the walls pretty much at other players can be used to help you out and also help them out. And still competitive. So the reason why I might not want this, however, is that it could make the games too easy, pretty much. Too easy to find that other player. Too easy to just go chase them down and tag them, pretty much. Alright, so jumping can be difficult and top down. So you can see over players. Probably going to be sticking with one flat level. Mentioned that before. This is again 3D top down multi level can be confusing, difficult. Can also be difficult to program as well. So, but this will be a topic that will be discussed at a later time. Pretty much, if you have a second level, you want to be able to make sure that the player is always visible, even through solid objects. Alright, here we go. I have a maze, top-down 3D ortho. So going back on this idea, the maze could be tight, limited room. So this could cancel out seeing over walls. Why would this cancel out seeing over the walls? Because it would shift the focus of the game to movement. So I didn't really talk about focus much. So focus goes back on probably the incentive, the how, pretty much. So focus in the PC version of laser tag is shoot your laser. Focus. So again, precision, accuracy, controller plus mouse. That's the main focus of the game. You have to be able to aim to hit the target. Also, positioning. I added an extra island. Okay. So that'll be sort of a secondary focus, I'd say. The primary focus of PC version of laser tag is the movement, the accuracy, with controller and mouse, being able to hit the target. The secondary would be your positioning. The idea is that pretty much you have to be able to aim in some extent or degree to gain points. And you do also have to move around, but you can shoot without moving, pretty much. So the focus is the map is designed to work with people who aim and who position themselves well. But in order to hit a target through a mirror, you have to aim at that mirror, pretty much. Alright, so now back at the mobile game that we're making. So, there we go. Tight, limited room shifts the focus to movement. So rather than having to try to aim at that precise spot on the mirror through a mouse control, this mobile control here is a lot less accurate. So this is why we want to focus on making sure players can move around the level, move to where they can and will also want, And to take the advantage, use map layout as advantage to hide or get to player. So using map, type map layout to move around and get to the other players. All right. So now, we talked about the map, talked about the layout. What about theme? Going back to up here, the theme. So stick with this right now, some sort of computer simulation or an alien world. There's all sorts of different level design concepts that can come out of whatever theme that you choose. So the one thing left we have is going back to how. So gaining points. Actually, no. I'll just put it here. Multiplayer, single player, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. Tag points, get most points, wins. Actually, no, here, hold on. Alright, so one more thing that I'll talk about with this game. Replayability. So, maybe your game is really impactful. And it's something that you want players to experience thoroughly and think about well, and then never play again. Because that's part of the message of the game. Well, if that's part of your game, then that could be an emphasis on how you design the game. If not replayable, emphasize. So this would be like an artistic aspect, pretty much. No, but this is difficult to do. Replayability is also as difficult. So with replayability, you want to be able to let the player go back and play again, pretty much. Re-experience or new experience. So with multiplayer, this comes with playing against different skill levels. So every single multiplayer match does not end the same. Sure, you might all start off with the same level playing field, but sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The replayability in that does not come from the fact that matches are unbalanced. Replayability comes from incentive to win. If you take a game mode, now we're going to be starting to shift gears towards game modes. Take a MOBA, for instance. Long games are typically in MOBAs that can last 30 minutes to an hour long, even like a Battle Royale, for instance. Why do people go back to playing it again? It's probably because, I don't know, maybe they're good. Maybe they have like a 50-50 win chance. Maybe sometimes they're winning, sometimes they're losing as the match continues on. So let's imagine here, I don't know that much about MOBAs because I typically avoid them. So let's go with the Battle Royale concept. So everybody starts off in a plane, they drop into the map. Some people will do what's known like Apex Legends as hot dropping, where they all land in one spot and try to fight over what little loot there is there. Other players will go and seek out loot across the map and play a little more intelligently. This is just different play styles. But each time the players are looking to get something different, get something new, overcome the obstacle, overcome the other players. This would only really work, this would only really encourage players to do this if, say, 1 in 10 times or 1 in 2 times or something like that, 1 in 5 times, they actually do gain the advantage. And especially for battle royales too, because there's so many players that are in the map at once, having that slight advantage over the other players, just like one time, can give the impression of, you're good at the playing game, you're enjoying it very much, you're enjoying winning. People enjoy winning. Not too much that it just becomes boring and repetitive. And that's probably the key difference. Repetitiveness. I'd say avoid. If the game is, why is the music not looping? Hold on. If a game is repetitive, there is, just listen to that. Okay. If a game is repetitive, then why would you keep playing it? Say here, tic-tac-toe, for instance. It's a fun game. People can play all the time. Now imagine tic-tac-toe with 3 squares. It's a lot less repetitive than normal tic-tac-toe. I mean, short. Well, no, tic-tac-toe generally is short. And it's a solved game. It gets boring after a while, it does. But you have 9 squares. You got like 9 factorial or so. Different possibilities of how a game can play out. And yeah. So tic-tac-toe is not actually too repetitive. And that's probably what something you want to avoid. You want to make sure that if player plays again, they can achieve something different if they want to. And then this difference can be rewarding. So if in the battle royale the player chooses to go and seek out loot instead of hot trapping, or the other way around, vice versa, there's that slight chance that they'll actually get number 1, or that they will overcome the other players, or maybe they won't. They probably won't actually. But even with that, they still gain XP. Even if they lose, they still gain XP. They still level up. They still gain a cosmetic. Even for losses, they still gain the incentive just by playing. It doesn't have to win all the time. Now, back to repetitiveness. Game modes. So, Team Fortress 2, for instance, popular game. One game mode in particular that's really popular is Capture the Flag on 2 Fort. Now, some people, I don't know, they do nothing but play 2 Fort. Other people, they avoid it at all costs. Why? Because generally any 2 Fort game ends up the same. You go mess around for an hour or so, then capture the flag 3 times, and then it's game over. You can go and build a sentry nest in the flag rooms or whatnot. You can spawn camp people if you can get up across the map. Generally, a lot of 2 Fort games are repetitive, and that has in part to do with the capture the flag game mode. Actually, Team Fortress 2 only has 3 points typically to capture the flag. You capture those 3 flags, there's not much that really is going to seem to be changing if, like, the team captures the first 2 flags within 5 minutes, for instance, because then at that point it's an unbalanced match, and unbalanced matches are repetitive. They are expected. Or expectedness. Required. All right. So, with different game modes, simply just create variety. And variety equals replayability. Too much. Variety equals confusion. So with that in mind, all that to say, plan on trying out different game modes. So with laser tag, I think CTF like game mode would work. Capture point, control point, King of the Hill. We just listened to this song like a few minutes ago. Let me skip that whole. Let me check the. Okay. All right. So different game modes. TDM, DM, for instance, like that. All right. So with that in mind, got quite a few, quite a list here. This is good. This is good. This is good because the more that you can write down, the more that you can plan out ahead of time, and the more that you can plan out now, actually. You can use this plan, use these ideas, refer back to them, rather than saying, hey, do I want a D-pad or an analog stick? You can go back to this design decision and say, we're going to do it this way. And then you can actually do it that way. If it doesn't work out, then you go through the process again and changing it. But it's good to have a good idea of why you want the design decision. Why is it good to have a top-down view? Why is it interesting to have multiplayer, single player? Why implement achievements in the first place? And this has to do with game design. And I still have to take intro to game design. But seriously. Alright, anyway, don't worry about my classes. I think this is a pretty good idea. I think we have a good idea of what to start prototyping and what to start developing. As we over time, however, this will probably change. So you know, likely changes. Take note, pretty much. All right. Here we go. So, yeah, with that, I think we're good with the prototyping development, and then with the little bit of time that we have left, we're going to start on the actual development phase. All right. So, there's some important, excuse me. Development. All right. And design. So, tools. There we go. All right. So, the first tool that I want to talk about before we talk about engines or platforms or anything else, version control, is notes, planning, collaboration. Some way to keep track. So this is like this is very heavily production. focus. So if you're a producer, if you plan on being a producer for a game, then this is the sort of stuff that at least I would expect you to do. Whether or not you actually do it is another question, but yeah, producers, should at least be, making sure that the team has the tools needed to get done what needs to get done. So anyways, keep track of stuff. Keep track of what's done, what will be done, ideas, progress, there we go. Now what tools are available? Tools. So there's like, what are they? Trello boards, like Trello and similar. So I'm not going to go over the advantages or disadvantages of this stuff, except I'll just point out why I'm using OneNote here. But note taking, OneNote, Google Jamboard, miscellaneous apps. So the reason why I'm here using OneNote, good writing stylus, support, easy to use, lots of features plus tools, and sharing support. That's pretty much why I'm here using OneNote. I do recommend OneNote for playing on prototyping, because I mean, as you can see, I was just able to create this nice document with various pictures. It can be zoomed out if you want, or zoomed back in. Lots of notes to clearly specify how this game is going to be played out, worked out, built out, whatnot. And just with the simple share button, you can share it. There's some live features, but it's not the most reliable all the time. There's other tools as well. So if I go over here with my pen, here we go. We have, this is I believe called Whiteboard, Microsoft Whiteboard. Yeah. So that's like OneNote, but it's a little simpler as well. I've made some stuff in it before. This is something that I did for computer graphics. Maybe I'll show that next time. Alright. So yeah, OneNote's another tool. There's Squid, I believe it's called. It's a note-taking app that you can get on Android. You can also just open up a Word document, for instance, or a Google document. Though I would suggest something that you can, like, just easily start diagramming or drawing or something. If you need to graph, if you need to chart statistics, then maybe something like Excel, spreadsheet, Google Sheets, Excel, for instance, documents, notes, Google Docs, or even like Notepad, as like very basic. So yeah, there's pretty simple for the available tools. One other idea is the internet. Searching, planning, Googling, watching, playing, inspiration, but not copying. Don't copy stuff on the internet. You can grab inspiration, like I've had quite a few game ideas from like different TV shows I've watched, like The Expanse or Battlestar Galactica, or even like Stargate. It'd be really amazing to make some games from those shows, but IP again can be difficult. So you can take the idea from the show, take the idea of the game that you have, Take gameplay idea, build world out of it on your own. That's how you would take a game that you don't own the IP to and you make it your own. Pretty much. And then expand gameplay, pretty much. Alright. So that's probably your starting point in keeping notes in playing and production. You can probably have some way to, so with like a Trello board, one more thing, track progress, task people, pretty much. In case you're working with a group, some way to make sure that people know what to do, where to look. All right. Now, next up is engine. Not quite, actually. Next up is version control. So, Google Drive, no. Google Drive can work as last resort backup, and this goes for Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, etc. Don't use Google Drive for Google Drive is best used as a backup and not something that you work on constantly. So share files, put an asterisk there because I'll be talking about a better way that you can share important files later on. Actually, no, like right now. So, version control, let's see here. There's GitHub, there's SVN, there's Perforce, there's Plastic SCM, there's many others. All right, so let's go over some of these version controls. So GitHub's good for text code, good merging tools, good blame tools. So blaming is pretty much indicating who did what. Not too good with large files, LFS, and like binary files, meh. Like pictures, assets. GitHub, I meant more or less Git. There's GitLab, GitHub. They're the popular ones. They're both free, and they both allow you to have private repos now. GitHub used to not, but that's fine. Privacy, yeah, that's important. Is key. Make sure people don't hack in and make inappropriate changes, pretty much. All right, so SVN. I've used this quite a bit with Cat Smash, currently using it with Laser Tag PC, many other projects, pretty much just as a general backup. I would recommend Visual SVN plus Tortoise SVN for Windows. SVN is open standard. I don't know if it's open source, but this is like CLI tools. Paid tools exist as well. Visual SVN is free for up to 5 users. 5 users, so keep that in mind. But you could run own server otherwise. Perforce, is what I've been using for university. It's industry standard. It's kind of bad. Confusing. It's proprietary. I wouldn't recommend Perforce unless you have to use it, or I don't know, maybe if you're on a large team, large project. Classic SEM. This is actually what we plan on using. For laser tag mobile. It's free for 5 gigabytes, which is great for like a small project. It has Unity integration. It's owned by Unity actually. Owned by Unity. We'll see how it goes. And others. Really, it's up to you which version control you want. But some of the key features for version control, some of the reasons why. Backup, restoration, changes, tracking, plus who made the changes. Merging and branching to keep changes separate as they go on, pretty much. And then another thing that is good for another important feature of version control is uploading source files. Uploading, making, and sharing any source files. So for all these reasons up here as well, I recommend that to have some sort of designated source folder. Now, more on this later. So this is the asterisk from before. There we go. All right. Now, on the engine. So I already said that's going to be 3D. Let's see here. We got 3D. So 2D. It's really up to self-preference and requirements. So, in actuality, if you try hard enough, you can do nearly anything with any engine. With that being said, there's engines that do stuff differently and better than others. So typically, let's go over some common examples. Unreal Engine. Great 3D, meh 2D. Luckily, my game's gonna be in 3D, so it's good. Also good, realistic graphics. Can also be artistic. Unreal Engine works in C++, Blueprints, HLSL. It's a shader language. You can copy and paste that into the shader graph if you want. Yeah. There's some other advanced details like physics, collision, destructibles, replication. That's going to be an important feature with laser tag game, with any multiplayer game actually, because replication is the main system for multiplayer in Unreal Engine. Alright, Unity. instance. Good 3D and 2D. Improving graphics. Not quite on the level of maybe like something like Unreal Engine. Unity uses C#. It used to use JavaScript to use JS. In fact, my first Unity project was in JavaScript. And then again, there's other advanced details. Another engine it's free to use is CryEngine 5. CryEngine 5, good graphics, 3D. Sorry. Okay. Hold on, I'm sure that's indented over there. Okay, 3D. Probably less common indie because it only recently is in 3D free. I mean. I don't know too much about it. I'm probably not gonna be using it for the laser tagging. Actually, I know which engine I'm already gonna be using, but all right. What else we got? We got Godot. Godot has good 2D and improving 3D. Bit of a different structure compared to other engines. And Godot is free and open source. Alright, what else we got? We got 2D as well. One 2D engine that I'll just put out is Game Maker. Game Maker is paid. Recommended not to use. Or free, except you can't build. Alright, interface can be confusing, and rather it's a limited engine. I would recommend just programming the game yourself, if you know how to. Or Scratch. For, a beginner. Scratch is a visual language, works well with 2D, really simple to use, and a lot of different good helps and resources for you to get started. This is for if you are getting started with programming in general, and yes, programming is going to be pretty important. Alright, so what else? What other engines? CryEngine. No, CryEngine is in development. Don't use. CryEngine's my own engine, so a JavaScript web-based engine. That I'll probably show off in the future. We'll see. You can access a demo on it on my website, which I showed before. What's up with the fans? Hold on. Anyways, what other engines? You could always DIY it. Oh boy, where's my CPU getting all toasty? What? What the heck? That's weird. Okay, IQ is... Wait, why is it using balance? No, okay, now it's fine. Okay. 71... I have a cooling issue? Sorry. Well, I should get a new water cooler. I'm sure my CPU is under load right now, but... Okay, whatever. Alright, Alright, D-O-Y? No, D-I-Y. There we go. Okay. This is just, more work pretty much. The more low level, more control, more work to do, pretty much. Alright. Now, backing out of the engine, let's talk about other tools. So first off, we need 3 tools. Alright. Blender. Maya. Houdini. Alright, so Blender, Blender 3D, animation, rigging. Maya does the same thing pretty much. Houdini, however, does procedural generation and VFX, more or less. Alright, Blender is free and open source, while Maya is paid licensing. Maya is industry standard, while Blender can be similar to Maya. Really, it's just about preference again. There's other technical details that you can look at for these tools that I'm not going to go into much detail on. 2D tools. Let's sort this over by free and paid. So paid is pretty much just Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator. So these are tools to make images. Photoshop makes raster images, while Illustrator makes vector images. Alright, and then free, you have GIMP and Inkscape. There's 2 cats who are banging themselves around on the walls right now. Anyways, GIMP, raster, Inkscape, vector. Now, importantly, these are free and open source as well. Alright, some other tools that you might need, though less commonly. Video editing and compositing. So typically you should do this in Engine, but sometimes maybe not. If you want to maybe do out of Engine preprocess. So the one that I use typically with my YouTube channel, that I actually haven't used in quite a while, is HitFilm Express. Latest update, latest version, not much recommend because it limits the export size. Paid Premiere, Adobe Premiere. It's pretty good. Others, I'm not really sure. There's not much else out there that really comes to this level. Well, okay, actually no, hold on. Others, Cinema 4D, video plus compositing, DaVinci is all I think it is. That'll be another good thing. Adobe Premiere. Okay, so compositing plus editing. Okay, Premiere, editing, and then After Effects. So, alright. One more thing. Compositing is adding VFX to 2D pretty much. Alright. 2D tools. Now, last audio tools. So, free and open source, LMMS, and Audacity. It's pretty much will get you through about anything. Paid. I guess there's GarageBand. And this is good for Mac, pretty much. Actually, Apple typically is good for audio. Oftentimes, I don't recommend Apple for really any other technology, except audio is probably Apple still kind of has an advantage over. Oftentimes. Anyways, I don't know much about audio. So just, it's up to you to find out which professional software works best. Just anything that, music versus VFX range. Which one is better for making music? Which one has like tools for, tools for musical elements versus tools to manipulate audio, distort it, add effects and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the two things to take note of when it comes to audio. So LMMS is a music creator. You add tracks. It's a lot like GarageBand or like other similar programs like Musically, I think it is, or MuseScore. I don't know. Pretty much you add tracks, you create notes on these tracks, and then when you press play, they play different instruments created in LMMS, either by audio tracks or by waveforms, pretty much. A lot more complicated than that because creating music is actually quite complicated, and something that I'm hoping to be able to source from somewhere else. But we're gonna look at obtaining assets later on in a different live stream. And then Audacity is great for opening up audio clips, cutting them up, increasing or decreasing the volume. You can also copy and paste audio clips. You can manipulate individual channels, add audio effects as well. They're both free and open source. And I recommend them both, just in general use, actually. If you're interested in making audio, or if you have just some basic audio to cut or whatnot, those tools are great. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. With this, I think you're on a good start to get started with developing your game. And we're also going to be getting on a good start to developing the game as well. So choose the engine. So for laser tag, I'm going to choose Unreal Engine. I know it pretty well. It's also a good engine to work with prototyping and blueprinting, though I'm hoping to be able to get some C++ in and show off sort of how that works, but that's going to probably take more time and not be as interesting to watch or live. Unity would probably also be a good choice, but there'd be a little bit that I have to sort of look up. I haven't used Unity in quite a while. CryEngine 5 would be interesting, but that's still a fairly new engine relative to like it being free and whatnot. And I don't know how capable it is really, especially at like a mobile game. I know that Unreal Engine is pretty good with mobile, and Unity is also pretty good with mobile. Godot would probably be a good choice and probably be interesting to learn, but I don't think Godot's quite at the advanced stage of development. So what to look for in engine, what to look for, resources available, preference, capabilities, requirements. And difficulty. All right. So yeah, with an engine, I'm going to choose Unreal Engine because it's pretty good and easy to work with for a simple game like the one that we plan on developing. It has the capabilities that I'm looking for, and it has quite a lot of resources just on its own to be able to make such a game, especially Unreal Engine 5. No, 4 is also pretty good. Alright, version control. We're going to be trying out Plastic SCM, seeing how that goes out just because it's free, it's online on the cloud. So I wouldn't have to worry about self-hosting. That's another thing, by the way. Self-hosted. So should have multiple backups. Self-host plus on cloud. Okay. So yeah, that's something to consider with version control. Don't want your game to be only in one spot, because if it fails in that one spot, then you've just lost a lot of work. So Plastic SCM, and then for notes and playing collaboration, we already sort of did that. We'll keep using OneNote. Might find another tool to keep track of progress and also keep up with any plans, but I think we can get a lot done with OneNote, especially since that OneNote makes it easy to make tables like so. You can do quite a bit with that, easy to draw with. I definitely recommend it. Alright, I think with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Not many viewers other than like one spam bot. Ugh, of course. Hopefully I can get some more people in next time. And go end this and go. Huh. Guess we don't have the desktop music. Hold on, let me add something real quick here. Add existing game desktop. Okay. And go transition. And then turn that off. There we go. Okay. Oops, not that one. There we go. Okay. Alright. So I hope you guys this introductory video, I hope, was a good introduction to developing the game initially. Yeah, my mic's working good. Starting to plan it out, starting to get the prototyping phase started with, and get the game design idea out, so that you have a game plan that when it's at that state that you planned it out for, it is a good game that has a lot of replayability, a lot of incentive to go back and play it again. Different obstacles, different challenges. It's also easily accessible to general users. And in general, there should be a purpose behind any decision that you make. So if you follow along with making this sort of game, follow along, I'll share the game outline design and stuff over on my Discord server, and it'll be accessible as well. I will upload it to my blog. So my blog is the website in the center of the screen. You can check that out for the sort of notes and the outline that we came up with. And I hope that this would help you with coming up with how to come up with and design your own game from scratch, pretty much. Not from the engine scratch, but you know what I mean. So next step, we will be setting up our development environment, setting up Unreal Engine and probably also Visual Studio, C++. We'll be setting up Plastic SCM. I will be going over all the different tools and all the different requirements that you'll need to develop, ideally in C++ in Unreal Engine. So hopefully, if you have any recommendations, if you think this was a good way of showing off how to do stuff, or if you want to see something different, be sure to tell me in the over on my Discord server. If you think it's too long, yeah, I know it's pretty long. There's a lot of information though, so it's my first time doing this, but I mean, hey, it was live. You can come back again next Saturday, so that will be May 20th. Yep, May 20th will be next time I'll be live streaming, and I'll be working on the next stage of development for this. So I hope to see you there.